Hi friends, namaskar, welcome. In today's class, I'll be doing a beautiful dynamic flow class. We'll be focusing on the standing asanas, so it'll be a full body workout, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. I'll meet you on your mat. Okay, so let's get started by just coming to settle onto our mats in stillness. You can sit in an easy, comfortable, cross-legged position, whatever works for you. And we're going to place the palms of our hands onto our knees, palms facing down. We really want to focus on grounding in today's class. And now let's just gently close our eyes and start to connect with your natural breath. And while we're sitting on our mats, let's take this time just to set an intention for today's class. And I'd like us to set an intention just to find stillness and grounding within us. So just notice your breath, observe your breath. Start to deepen each inhalation and lengthen each exhalation. And now we're going to work with box breathing. So we'll be inhaling for the count of 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, and holding for 4. So let's just start by emptying our lungs. And now inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, and hold. Inhale, hold, exhale, and hold. Let's inhale together. Hold, exhale, and hold. And now slowly just come back to your natural breath. And you can gently open your eyes. Now let's inhale and reach the arms up above our heads, stretching into the arms, stretching into the fingertips. And now we're going to interlace our hands, pressing the palms away from us. Just allow the shoulders to lift up gently as you extend into those palms. And just keep breathing through it, enjoying the stretch in the side body, enjoying the stretch in the arms. And now we're going to gently encourage our arms just to move towards the back, so we're rotating our shoulders, drawing those shoulder blades in, warming up our shoulders. And now as we release, we're going to work with some wrist rolls. So slowly bringing your arms down by your sides, rolling your wrists as you do so. And now placing the palms back onto the knees, we're going to work with some seated cat-cows. So as you inhale, you move forward and arch the back. And then exhale to round, tucking the chin in. Inhale forward and exhale round. As you inhale, you can draw those shoulder blades in and then exhale and round your shoulder blades, tucking your chin in. Let's do one more. Inhale forward and exhale back. And now we're going to walk our hands in front of us and just come into a very gentle forward fold. So extend those hands out and then slowly, slowly lower your head to the mat. Now let's walk our way back to a seated position. We're going to change the cross of our legs for balance. So just alternate your legs and come back to sitting with the palms on your knees. Let's take a deep breath in and out. And now as we inhale, we're going to reach the arms up and then gently lift up and come across to one side. You can rest on your elbow, and all the time just being mindful of keeping your knees on the mat. So try not to lift up your knees and really focus on that side stretch. And inhale to come through neutral. Exhale down to the other side. Just spend a bit of time here, loosening up, feeling into that stretch, enjoying that stretch. And let's come back through center. We'll do one more on either side. Remembering to breathe, connecting every movement with your breath. Inhale as you come back up to center, and exhale for our last side stretch. And now let's come back to center. Now we're going to work with some back rolls. So just gently rotating that spine all the way around in a clockwise movement. And as you move, just synchronize your breath with each rotation. You're inhaling to come up and exhaling as you go forward. Exhale down and inhale up. And this is just a nice, gentle loosening up of the lower spine. And now we're going to change direction. Inhale to come up. Exhale down. Just keep moving in your own time. You can close your eyes. Use this as a form of meditation. Find your own rhythm. Just go within. Ground yourself. Let's do one more. And now we'll come back to stillness. Let's just walk our hands out in front of us and come back into a gentle forward fold. And now slowly lift up your head and start to walk back to a seated position. We're going to bring our feet into Baddha Konasana, which is our butterfly pose or our bound angle. So the soles of the feet are touching. Your knees are flopping out to the side. You can even move your calf flesh a little bit just to give yourself an even better extension in the knees. And then we're going to take hold of the toes with the hands. Draw up that chest, zip up that core, and draw the shoulder blades in so that you really are extending and broadening through the upper body. And while you're stretching through your torso, there's a counter stretch as you draw your knees down onto the mat. So feel that stretch and counter stretch. And just gently gaze ahead. Baddha Konasana is one of the best hip openers, so good for us. And now let's just flap our butterfly wings. So this is just a great way to lubricate the hip joints, to completely loosen up the hips and the pelvis. And you can find your own rhythm again and just enjoy it. And now let's come back to stillness. We're going to straighten our legs out in front of us for Dandasana or staff pose. So this is quite an active seated asana. Your feet are flexed, you're activating your knees and your quads. So your heels will actually gently lift up off the mat with the activation of your quads. You can shift your glutes back behind you just to tilt the pelvis forward slightly. And then you can place your hands on either side of you, coming onto the fingertips, drawing those shoulder blades in and lifting up through the chest. And just gaze ahead. Dandasana is the fundamental pose for all our seated asanas. So once we've learned our Dandasana, it really is a strong grounding foundation for all of the seated poses. And now let's draw the right knee in, planting the sole of the foot towards the groin. We're going to inhale and reach up and exhale to fold forward. So just place your hands wherever it's comfortable for you. This is your personal journey, nothing to prove. It's just about what works for you. And once you've found your position, you can gently close your eyes again. Inhale and exhale. And with each breath, just gently surrender a little bit more, deepening into that forward fold. Now slowly start to walk those hands up. We're going to take a bind. So taking your right arm and wrapping it around that knee, interlace the fingers at the back. And then try and lift up your chest for a little bit of a twist, and you can gently gaze across the left-hand side. And while you're in your twist, just be mindful of keeping the foot flexed on your left foot. Breathing through it. It's quite an active twist. And now let's release, come back to a seated position. We're going to take a closed twist here. So inhale and reach up your left arm, and then bring the elbow to the outside of the right knee, twisting to the back. Your hand and your fingers are activated, and you're gently gazing across your right shoulder. And just remembering to keep that left foot completely flexed and the left leg activated. So you're zipping up your knee and you're activating your quads. Twists are so good for the digestive system. Let's just release, replace that leg onto the mat, and we'll bring our left foot in, planting the sole of the foot right near the groin. Inhale, reach those arms up, and exhale to fold forward. And again, just rest your hands wherever it's comfortable for you. You can use a strap in all of these forward folds. And all the time we're trying to be mindful of elongating our spines. So the first step in our forward folds is to find that elongation from the base of our spines, and then eventually to gently start to lower the head. Just breathe through it, deepening that stretch with every exhalation. Now let's walk our hands back up, and we're going to take a bind on the left-hand side, interlacing the fingers behind you. And once you've found your bind, try and lift up that chest, twisting slightly to the right, and gently gazing ahead. Remembering to keep your base foot flexed and your knee and your quad active throughout this pose. And now let's release our bind, and we'll move into a closed twist on the other side, raising that arm up, then bringing the elbow to the knee. Your hand and fingers are activated, gently gazing across that back shoulder. And now let's replace both hands onto the mat, replace both feet onto the mat, and we're going to gently open up for Upavista Konasana, which is our wide angle seated posture. So slowly start to open up those legs. You can settle into any distance that works for you. And we're going to start with a little bit of breath work just to loosen up our backs. So as you exhale, you're just going to flop down to one side, and then inhale to come back through center. Exhale as you drop down. Inhale up. Exhale to fold down. Inhale up. And exhale to fall. Just keep working in your own rhythm. Such a relaxing, soothing way to warm up our backs before we start working with our forward folds. So ease into it in your own time, working with your breath. And we'll just do the last one now. And gently come back to seated. Now before we move into our forward fold, the key in all the forward extensions in yoga is to have a gentle inward rotation of the legs, because that just broadens the sacral band and positions the pelvis and the hips to enable you to move forward. It gives you a little bit of freedom. There's a little bit more space for that forward fold. So the legs are gently inwardly rotated, the toes are pointing up, your feet are flexed, and when you're ready, start to walk your way down into a forward fold. And you can rest at any level. You can rest on the hands, you can rest on the elbows, and then if you want to take an extra extension, you can allow the forehead just to come down and relax, resting on the palms. And again, I like to hold these forward folds for a little bit longer than our other asanas because they're just working with our yin energy, our feminine energy. And the longer we hold them, the more they work into our fascia, which is really what we want to achieve. Gives us that lubrication in our bodies, and it helps us with our flexibility. So let's just stay here, breathing through it. Just deepen your breathing, trying to sink deeper and deeper into this forward extension. And now let's slowly walk our way back up, taking your time, no rush. And now we'll support our knees, bringing the feet into a slightly wider than hip distance apart, and the toes are facing out. We're going to move into our Malasana garland pose. So let's just gently rock from side to side, coming onto the balls of each foot. Just working into those hips. They should be feeling nice and warmed up now. And then when you're ready, just come to settle in your Malasana. So you can stay on the toes if that's more comfortable for you. Alternatively, you can slowly draw the heels down and then bring the hands into prayer position. You can use the elbows just to gently encourage those knees to open up even further, opening up those hips. And once you've found your position, you can close your eyes, connect to your breath, and just enjoy your garland pose. Malasana is a very healthy pose for us. They say it even assists in prostate cancer. So it's something that we really should try and do every day, is just to take a little bit of time to do a yogi squat. And now we're going to slowly ease our way up. So coming onto the hands, gently lifting up that tailbone and just stretch it out. We're warming up our hamstrings. And now let's just bend again and stretch. Bend those knees and stretch. And last one, let's bend and stretch. And now we can heel toe those feet out, coming into Prasarita Padottanasana, which is our forward fold, our wide-legged forward fold. So we'll start just resting on our fingertips. So your back should be beautifully elongated. Again, you're trying to focus on that elongation in the spine before you move down into your forward fold. So really extend those arms, come onto those fingertips. Your feet are slightly in, your toes are slightly in, so the outsides of the feet are parallel with your mat. And again, it's because we need to have that gentle inward rotation of the legs to allow the space in the hips and the pelvis to move forward. And now let's gently deepen our forward fold. So start to bend your elbows, walk those hands back, line up the hands with the feet, and gently lower the head. And again, you can just close your eyes in your Prasarita Padottanasana, enjoying that inward energy. Very soothing, beautiful restorative pose. Now let's come back onto our fingertips. Rotate those legs out now so your toes are facing out. We're going to start moving into some side lunges. So just gently easing across and then moving across to the other side. And with each lunge you can flex the foot on your straight leg and just gently moving into it. Again, allowing the body to warm up. You should feel it in your hamstrings. So be gentle. Work with your own body and be patient. And now we're going to settle into our skandasana, our side lunge. You can bring the hands into heart center and just gently gaze ahead. This is a beautiful hamstring stretch. Remembering to keep that foot flexed. Try and lift up the chest, broaden through the chest. And now let's move across to the other side. So again, your foot is flexed. You can come to settle with the hands in prayer and gently encouraging that torso to remain broad and elongated throughout this pose. And now let's walk back to center. This time we're going to walk our hands forward, so it's almost like a wide-legged downward facing dog. So just find your position. You may need to shift those feet back on your mat and then gently ease into it, lowering the chest towards the mat. Now we can start to heel toe those feet. Coming into a forward fold. Let's just start with a nice, generously knees bent forward fold. So just allow your head to flop forward, your body to flop forward. You can even sway from side to side, keeping those knees bent. And then once you've found your position, gently start to straighten those legs, warming up the hamstrings. And again, just being very gentle, working with your body. If you need to keep a micro bend in the knees, that's absolutely fine. And just hang in Uttanasana, our forward fold. Again, allowing the body just to drop forward, little bit by little bit with every breath. And now we're going to bend our knees and sweep those arms up into upward prayer, and then bringing them to settle at heart center. Okay, we're going to come to the short edge of our mats now, just to do some sun salutations to warm up before we move into our standing asanas. So come to standing in Tadasana, mountain pose. The outsides of the feet are parallel, the toes are slightly in, so you've got a gentle inward rotation of the legs. You can soften your knees slightly here and really ground through the feet. So pressing into the big toe mound, the baby toe mound, and the heel. Find your stability in your Tadasana pose, mountain pose or Samastiti. And now let's inhale and reach those arms up, bringing them into upward prayer. You can gently arch the top of the back. And then exhale as you fold forward, coming into your Uttanasana forward fold. And let's just hang here for a little bit, enjoying the fold. Our hamstrings should be a little bit warmer than they were at the beginning of the class. And now inhale, hands to shins, nice flat back, coming into halfway lift. Exhale down. Placing the hands onto the mat, step back with the right foot, and just hold your lunge. We're going to work with a little bit of hamstring stretching before we move into our sun salutation. So you can just rock gently, warming up the calf muscle, warming up the ball of the foot, warming up the toes. And now we're going to straighten that front leg, so it's almost like a variation of pyramid pose, a slightly deeper pyramid pose. You should feel it in your hamstring. You can rub behind your knee if you need to. Work with your body. And let's gently lunge forward and straighten into pyramid. Lunge forward and straighten. We'll do one more. And now come forward again, bending that front knee, dropping the back knee to the mat, untucking those toes. And we're just going to sink back into a half split. So gently again, just working with your hamstring. You can rub behind your knee if you need to. Your foot is flexed, just easing into it. And now we'll come back into a lunge, staying in this position for crescent lunge. So allowing those hips to sink down and making sure that the knee and the ankle are stacked at 90 degrees. Pressing into the front foot, grounding your body. Inhale and reach those arms up, bringing them into upward prayer position. And you can just gently gaze ahead. And now let's exhale, bringing the hands down onto the mat. Tap the toes under on your back foot. Step back into downward facing dog. And let's just walk out our dog. It's our first dog of the day. So walk it out, easing into it. You can enjoy the side stretch with each movement. So just work with your body, do what feels good. And now when you're ready, we'll come to settle in our downward facing dog. So your feet are hip distance apart, the toes are slightly in. So again, we're working with that inward rotation because we're in a forward fold or an inversion. And you can actually start your dog on the toes with the knees bent. And that will elevate your sit bones. And once you've found that position, then you can gently encourage those heels to settle onto the mat, extending those hamstrings, straightening those legs. And you're pressing into the palms of the hands, your fingers are widespread. And then you're drawing the chest down towards your thighs, and your neck is completely free in your downward dog. Okay, now let's inhale, roll forward into a high plank. And then we're going to work with our 8 limb. So dropping the knees to the mat, untucking the toes. You're going to lower the chest and chin to the mat, keeping the pelvis lifted up. And then slowly slide down, coming forward into a cobra pose. When you're in your cobra, always remember to squeeze those glutes to support the lower back. And now let's tuck the toes under, lifting up those sit bones, coming back into downward facing dog. Sweeping that right leg up for 3-legged dog. And then bringing the knee into the chest, planting that foot, dropping the back knee for our second crescent lunge. Exhale, hands to mat, tuck the toes under. Hello, my Bobby. Stepping forward into your forward fold. And let's just hold our Uttanasana again. And let's inhale for halfway lift. Nice flat back. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale as you come back to standing. Hands to heart center. Let's repeat on the left hand side. So inhale, reaching up. Exhale to fold forward. Inhale for halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. This time stepping back with the left foot. Let's settle into our lunge here. Grounding that back foot, working with the ball of the foot. Gently loosening up those calf muscles. And now you can straighten your front leg. Our variation of our pyramid. Just hold it here, feeling it in the hamstrings. You can rub behind the knee. If you need to keep a micro bend in any of these poses, then please do so. And now let's gently lunge forward. And then come back into your pyramid, holding that pose, working with your breath. Exhale forward and inhale back. And now this time we're going to exhale as we come forward, drop that back knee, untuck the toes on the back, and we're going to sink back into our half splits. So again, your front foot is flexed, and just gently easing into it, warming up that hamstring. So work with your body. Do whatever feels good for you. If you need a little macro bend in that knee, then work with a macro bend. And now let's slowly come forward into our crescent lunge. So again, allowing the hips to descend in this pose. Our crescent lunge or Anjaneyasana is a preparation for back bends. So you want to find a stable base, the bottom of your spine, and then you're going to work with a slightly more mobility in the upper body. So once you've found your position, let's inhale and reach those arms up. And then you can gently encourage the thoracic spine just to open up, the shoulder blades just to draw in, easing into this beautiful crescent moon pose. And now exhale, bringing the hands back down onto the mat. Tuck the toes under on the left foot, step back with the right, coming into downward facing dog. So find your dog. You've got a gentle internal rotation of the legs. You're pressing down into those heels, and you're drawing the chest towards the thighs. So just enjoy your dog. Let's take another deep breath here. And now we're going to inhale and roll forward into our high plank pose. Always remember to keep those hips elevated in your plank. So you're trying to create a perfect straight line. And now we're going to drop our knees and tuck those toes, bringing chin and chest down to the mat, keeping those hips elevated, sliding down into cobra, and again squeezing those glutes to support the lower back. Tucking the elbows in towards the side body. Tucking the toes under. Let's lift up for our downward facing dog. Sweeping that left leg up for three-legged dog, easing into it, bringing knee to chest, planting that foot down, dropping the back knee, untucking the toes, sweeping those arms up for crescent lunge. Remembering just to draw those shoulder blades in, opening up the thoracic spine, opening up the heart center, broadening through the chest. And now exhale, bringing the hands to the mat, tuck the toes under on your back foot, step forward into your forward fold. Just hold your fold here. Beautiful calming pose, Uttanasana. And now let's slowly start to lift up that body. A halfway lift, allowing the blood to flow back. And then exhale down, and let's sweep those arms up, bringing them into upward prayer, and now settling at heart center. Let's just stay here for a moment. You can close your eyes, breathing in and out. And now we're going to inhale, reaching the arms up for upper prayer. Exhale to fold forward, dropping through all the meridians. Hands to mat, beautiful forward fold. Now planting the palms onto the mat. You can bend your knees, step back into a high plank, activating your core, keeping the wrists and the shoulders stacked. You're on the balls of the feet. And now we're going to chaturanga to bring our bodies down onto the mat. So gently start to bend your elbows as you slowly lower down, coming onto the mat. And now let's lift up for upward facing dog. You can just gently gaze ahead. Let's hold our upward dog. Also, one of the back extensions. good just to get used to working with these gentle back extensions, remembering always to squeeze those glutes because that's what supports our lower back. Activate your quads in this pose as well. And now let's tuck the toes under and gently lift back up into our downward facing dog. Just take a deep breath here, enjoying all the restorative benefits of an inversion. And now we're going to bend our knees, keeping the soles of the feet together and the knees slightly apart. Come back for an extended child's pose, reaching those arms out in front of you, allowing the forehead to rest on the mat. Okay, now you can slowly gaze ahead, looking between your hands, tuck your toes under, lift up those sit bones for downward facing dog. We're going to move into our vinyasa sequence now, working with our standing asanas. So it's a nice dynamic flow. So just start by raising that left leg, pointing the foot, and try and extend into it. So actually try and draw the chest down towards your thigh, feeling that three-legged dog. Trying to loosen up a little bit with each breath. And now as you exhale, we bring knee to nose and plant the sole of the foot between the hands. Now drop the back knee and tuck the toes, lifting up for our crescent lunge. Exhale, hands to mat. Tuck the toes under on your back foot. We're going to plant that foot for pyramid pose. So you want to press into the heel. The foot is at a slight angle with the toes deeply rotated in. Once you've found your position, we're going to start to straighten that front leg for our pyramid pose. And remember to be mindful of aligning the hips. So drawing the back hip forward and the front hip back. And in your pyramid, you can come up onto the fingertips. So we'll try and maintain that elongation in the spine. And then slowly bring the hands onto the hips with the thumbs on the sacrum. Use those thumbs for support. And just keep your gaze at the mat. So it's very grounding to look down. Helps us with our stability and our balance. And now let's inhale as we come up, preparing for warrior one. So warrior one has the exact same stance as pyramid pose. So we're just going to exhale and bend our front leg. So find your comfortable position in your warrior one, making sure that the knee and the ankle are stacked. And now inhale as you reach those arms up for upward prayer. And again, just like our crescent lunge, warrior one is a preparation for our back extensions. So feel that fluidity and mobility in your upper spine, rotating the shoulders, drawing the shoulder blades in. And you can just gently gaze ahead. Now exhale, bringing hands to hips, straighten that front leg. And now we're going to sink into a deeper lunge. So exhale down, come onto the ball of the back foot, extending your lunge. Inhale, raising the arms up for parallel hands or upward hands, Urdhva Hastasana. So here our hands are facing each other, the palms are facing each other, the fingers are widespread, very active pose. Inhale and exhale, feeling it in the quads. And now let's slowly rotate the torso to face the front. We're coming into warrior two pose. So you can just adjust your stance here. Make sure that the heel is lining up with the arch of the back foot. Inhale and extend those arms out to shoulder height. And you can just gently gaze ahead at your front hand. In your warrior two, you want a slight external rotation of the leg. So just be mindful of that. It's very subtle, but it gives you more stability and mobility when you're working with lateral extensions like this. And now let's work into our reverse warrior. So gentle side stretch, lifting up the torso, allowing the back arm just to gently rest on the back knee. Again, sinking into the pose, keeping your knee and your ankle stacked on your front foot. Come back through warrior two, and let's exhale down into extended side angle. In this pose, your elbow is at a 90-degree angle and your palm is facing up, as though you're carrying a plate of food. And then you're trying to create an extension all the way from your fingertips all the way down to your toes on the right-hand side of the body. And now let's inhale to come back through warrior two. Bring the hands down onto the hips, straighten your front leg. Heel toe that back foot in slightly so that you're shortening your stance a little bit because we're moving into triangle pose. Again, the heel is lining up with the midway arch of your back foot. Let's inhale and extend those arms out. And exhale as you shift your torso across. Coming into triangle pose. You can rest the hand onto the shin. You can rest the hand onto the mat. Whatever works for you. In your triangle pose, you're trying to maintain an elongated trunk. So you almost want to draw the top ribs back and the bottom ribs forward to maintain that straight line and to maintain that elongation. And then just draw the shoulder blade in as well on your top arm. So imagine that you're leaning against a wall and your body is perfectly flat. And now let's inhale to come back to standing. Place the hands onto the hips. Shift that foot so that both feet are facing forward. The outsides of the feet are parallel, the toes are slightly in. Let's rest our hands onto our hips, bringing the thumbs onto the sacrum. Inhale to broaden through the chest. Exhale as you extend the body down into a forward fold. We'll bring our hands back down, resting onto our fingertips, and we'll just hold it here. You can gently gaze down at the mat. Placing the hands back onto the hips, thumbs into the sacrum. Let's inhale as we support the back to come back to standing. Reaching those arms up and out to the sides, shifting your right foot so that it's at a 90-degree angle and the toes are facing the short edge of your mat. Inhale as you broaden through the chest, and exhale as we shift across, coming into triangle pose on the other side. And again, being mindful of rotating the torso so that you're in a flat line, of shifting those ribs, and of keeping that elongation in the trunk. And you can always have a micro bend in your front leg as well. That does support the hamstrings. And now let's gently lift our gaze up and inhale to come back to standing. We're going to bring the hands onto the hips, and now we're going to exhale down into warrior two. So just shift that back foot slightly if you need a little bit of a wider stance, sinking into that front knee, again remembering to keep the knee and the ankle stacked at 90 degrees. Let's inhale and reach those arms up and gently gaze across your fingers. And now exhale down and reverse your warrior. Inhale as you reach that arm up and over, enjoying the side stretch, elongating that side body. Coming back through warrior two, let's exhale down into extended side angle. So again, being mindful of that 90-degree angle of the elbow and the arm. You're carrying a tray of food, your palm is facing up, perfectly steady, perfectly grounded. Now inhale to come back through warrior two, placing the hands onto the hips. We're going to rotate our torso to face the short edge of our mat. We're coming into high lunge. So stabilize that back foot. You're on the ball of the foot. Ground through your front foot. And let's inhale and reach those arms up. Coming into our parallel arms, our upward hands, palms are facing each other, fingers are wide spread. Now exhale, hands to hips, planting that back foot for our warrior one position. So now the legs are on perfect railway tracks. They're a little bit wider than hip distance apart. Your back foot is deeply rotated in and you're pressing onto the heel and the outside of the back foot for stability. And then remember to align those hips. Back hip comes forward, front hip goes back. And then exhale down, bending into your front knee. Inhale, reach those arms up, bringing them into upward prayer. Again, finding that mobility in the upper back. Beautiful back bend. Now exhale to bring the hands onto the hips, straightening that front leg for pyramid pose. Inhale, broaden through the chest, and exhale as you fold forward. Again, we'll just stay here with a nice extended back and gently gazing down at the mat to ground yourself. You can keep a macro bend in the front leg. Just work with whatever suits you. And now let's exhale as we take the hands down, placing them onto the mat. Bending your front leg, dropping the back knee to the mat, untucking the toes. Inhale as you come up for crescent lunge. Exhale, hands to mat, tucking the toes under on your back foot. And let's just swing that leg all the way up into our three-legged dog. And then gently place it down onto the mat for downward facing dog. And now you can slowly lower your knees to the mat, bringing the soles of the feet together and settle back into your extended child's pose. And just take a nice breather here. We're going to repeat that vinyasa. We'll move a little bit more quickly this time because we all know the poses. So let's just take one more deep breath here as we prepare for our next dynamic sequence. So gently gazing ahead of you, tucking those toes under and lifting up into downward facing dog. This time sweep the right leg up, three-legged dog. Exhale, knee to nose, planting that foot. Dropping the back knee and tucking the toes. Inhale, sweeping the arms up for crescent lunge. Exhale, hands to mat. Planting the back foot, creating that stability. Straighten your front leg for pyramid pose. Hands to hips, thumbs to sacrums. Gently extending your back. Rounding your gaze, looking at the mat. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, warrior one. Inhale, raising those arms, palms to touch, upward prayer. Exhale, hands to hips, straightening your front leg, shifting that back foot, coming onto the ball of the foot. Exhale, sinking down into high lunge. Inhale, arms up, palms facing each other, fingers are activated. Exhale to rotate the torso forward, coming into warrior two, sinking into your warrior two pose. Inhale and shift your body up and over into reverse warrior. And coming back through warrior two, exhaling our way down into extended side angle. Inhale to come up, hands to hips, straighten that front leg, shift the back leg in slightly. Inhale, raising that torso up, and exhale to shift the body across for triangle pose. Inhale to come back to standing. Exhale, hands to hips, rotating both feet so that the feet are facing forward, outsides of the feet are parallel. Inhale to broaden through the chest, drawing those shoulder blades in. Exhale as you fold forward. Coming onto your fingertips, gently gazing ahead, and now slowly lowering your gaze to the mat. Maintaining that elongation in the spine, extending through the arms, drawing the shoulder blades in. Placing the hands onto the hips, thumbs into sacrum. Inhale to come back to standing, shifting that front foot to face the short edge of your mat, lining up the heel with the arch of the back foot. Inhale, raise those arms up, and exhale as we move across into triangle pose. Inhale to come back to standing. Exhale down for warrior two. Shift your feet if you need to widen your stance. Inhale up and over for reverse warrior. And exhale as you come down into extended side angle. Inhale to come back up through warrior two pose. Straighten your front leg. Take the hands onto the hips. Shift the torso to face the short edge of your mat. Sink back down into your lunge. This time we're coming into our high lunge. Find your stability. Inhale, raise those arms, upward hands. Palms facing each other, fingers activated. Exhale, hands to hips. Plant the back foot, preparing for warrior one. Exhale as you bend down, checking that the knee and the ankle are perfectly aligned. Inhale, raise those arms for upward prayer. Exhale, hands to mat, straightening that front leg. Inhale, lifting up the torso, extending forward for pyramid pose. Shift your gaze to look at the mat. Ground yourself, find your balance. And now exhale as you bring the hands down onto the mat. Bending your front leg, tucking the toes under, and then dropping knee and untucking toes on the back. Find your solid base here. Inhale, reaching those arms up into upward prayer for Anjaneyasana, crescent lunge. Exhale, hands to mat. Tuck the toes under, step back into three-legged dog. Sweeping that leg up and then drawing it down as we settle in our downward facing dog. Let's just take nice deep breaths here in recovery. And now we can lower our knees to the mat. Again, keeping the soles of the feet together, knees slightly wider than hip distance apart. And sink your way down into an extended child's pose. Forward onto the mat, breathing through it. And let's look up and then start to ease our way back into a downward facing dog. And now you can sweep that right leg up, bending the knee, bringing the knee in towards the chest, and we're going to plant that knee onto the mat for pigeon pose. So nice yin pose to restore after our active sequence. Just settle into your pigeon, your half pigeon. Try and align those hips. Find your position. And we're just going to interlace our fingers behind our backs. Coming into a gentle back bend. Pigeon pose is actually a back bend, although we always use it as a beautiful restorative pose. So just enjoy this, opening up the heart center, working those shoulders. And then exhale to place the hands onto the mat. And let's slowly walk our way down. And you can just come to settle on your mats, resting your forehead onto your hands. And just close your eyes here in your pigeon, breathing through it. And allowing the body to ease into this. So very subtle, working with the fascia again. A beautiful hip opener and a gentle restorative pose. now let's slowly start to come back onto our palms, lifting up, tucking the toes under on our back foot, sweeping that front leg up into another three-legged dog, feeling that nice extension and returning the foot to the mat. Let's come back into our downward facing dog. And we're just going to repeat on the other side. So sweeping that left leg up, pointing the toes. Bending the knee, bringing knee into chest, and planting that leg onto the mat for your pigeon pose. Settle into it, aligning those hips, finding your nice solid seat, and trying to align your energy and align your balance between both sides of the body. And now let's interlace our fingers and take a little back bend. Really try and loosen up the shoulders here. Opening up the heart center. And then we're going to exhale and walk our way forward, coming to rest the forehead onto the hands. And again, just closing your eyes, enjoying this restorative pose, working with your feminine energy here, your yin energy. Beautiful, relaxing, gentle hip opener. Now let's slowly walk our way back up to seated. You can tuck the toes under on the back foot. And then sweep that front leg up into three-legged dog. So again, just easing into it. And then settle that foot back onto the mat for your downward facing dog. And now let's just drop our knees to the mat. This time we're going to stay in a normal child's pose. So the knees are together, the feet are together. Come into a little ball and sweep those arms down around your heels. You can interlace the fingers, and now you can just allow the palms to flop on either side, palms facing up. And just come to rest on your forehead. Closing your eyes and breathing into your child's pose. Now let's start to lift our bodies up. We're going to come to sit onto our sit bones. Swing those feet out in front of you. And let's slowly just work our way down onto our mats, coming to rest on our backs as we start to work with our nice, relaxing postures. So you can plant the soles of the feet onto the mat. And let's just start by raising that right knee, drawing the knee into the chest, hugging that knee, feeling the release in the lower back. And breathing as we work into it. And now we're going to draw the knee towards our shoulder, so opening up the hips a little bit more. Your knees now on the outside of your rib cage. And now let's extend that leg, so straightening that leg, and you can come to hold the back of the thigh, gently easing the thigh towards your chest. Just feel that release in the hamstrings. Now you can take hold of the ball of the foot or anywhere that it's accessible for you. And we're just going to open up into a side stretch. So again, working with our hips. You can place your left hand onto your left hip just to keep it grounded. And you're opening up on the right hand side. Now let's return that foot to the mat, and we'll just repeat on the left. So bringing your left knee into your chest, hugging that knee, feeling the release in the lower back. And now drawing the knee towards the shoulder on the outside of the rib cage. Again, working with your hips. And now let's flex that foot, extending the leg up, straightening the leg. Hands behind the thighs and gently encouraging that thigh to just ease closer and closer towards our chests. You can rock a little bit back and forth. Sometimes I find that quite soothing. And now we're going to take hold of the ball of the foot and open up to the side. Come to wherever it's comfortable for you. And then gently encourage your right hip just to stay grounded. Beautiful side stretch, beautiful hip opener. And now let's return that foot to the mat. Sweeping both hands onto the inside of your thighs. Take hold of the balls of both feet and we're going to open up into our happy baby pose. So in this pose, just be mindful of keeping the spine grounded throughout. So sometimes the coccyx wants to lift up. We just need to encourage it to stay firmly planted on the mat. So you're really focusing on opening those hips and drawing the thighs down towards the mat. The soles of the feet are facing the ceiling. Another very restorative pose, so you can just enjoy it. You can close your eyes, breathe through it, completely relax. Now if you want a little challenge, you can start to straighten those legs for an extra extension. Otherwise, just stay in your happy baby pose. So again, just hold and breathe through it, enjoying the stretch, enjoying the hip opener. Keeping that spine firmly planted on the mat. And now let's bring our feet back together, and very slowly we're going to lower our legs down, coming into our Shavasana, our final relaxation. So the feet are mat distance apart. You're allowing your feet to flop out to the side, so the baby toes are descending towards the earth. Your arms are on your sides. There's a little bit of space between your bicep and your chest. So you're just feeling completely relaxed, supported by the earth, completely grounded. Just release any trapped flesh. You can gently draw those shoulder blades in and then come to settle, allowing the heart to be completely open. You can draw your chin in slightly just to elongate the neck. Gently closing those eyes, relaxing the jaw, relaxing the brow, relaxing the arms. Allow your fingers to gently curl if that's their relaxed state. So just completely easing into it, coming back to your breath. Calming the mind. So while you're in your relaxed Shavasana and you're focusing on your breath, just listen to these very wise words. Have a mind that's open to everything, but attached to nothing. I think that's one of yoga's greatest teachings, is to learn to detach and just accept. And now let's slowly become aware of our bodies on the mat. So you can start to rub your thumb and your fingers together, rotate those ankles, rotate those wrists. You can draw the feet together and point the toes, and then stretch the arms up and over your head. You can interlace the fingers if that feels good. Just give yourself a really good deep stretch. And then exhale and curl up into a little ball, bringing the knees towards the chest, rocking from side to side, massaging your back. And now you can slowly roll over onto one side, coming into a fetal position. And just take a deep breath here. And then very gently in your own time, let's come up to seated. Coming back into easy pose or half lotus, just settling back into your mat. Inhale and sweep those arms up. And And exhale, bringing the hands down to heart center. Let's gently bow our heads in gratitude for this grounding practice. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a beautiful day. Namaste. Take care.